You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 187. And today, let's get you past that ick factor and closing more deals in your business. That's right, we're talking about sales, and I have brought one of my favorite experts to join us today. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Hey, are you a thought leader, creative entrepreneur, or change maker and want to magnify your impact, boost influence while creating a financial abundance? Stay tuned for today's inspiring episode with your host, Melanie Benson.
Hello there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, profit amplifier to experts, online business owners, and information marketers, hopefully just like you. And I've got a question for you today. What would it take for you to increase your sales by 10 times? Okay. What would it take for you to increase them by 20 times? I'm really curious how you might answer this question. Join us in the Amplify Your Success community. I want to hear, what's it going to take? Is it mindset? Do you really need to shift the way you think about it? Is it skill? Do you need to know how to connect with people more and really be able to hold a sales and enrollment conversation without feeling icky and slimy? What do you really, really need? My guest today is going to help you get past that ick factor so you can enroll more people in your programs. And we're going to talk about it even further in the Amplify Your Success community. If you join me at amplifyyoursuccesscommunity.com, you will get access to my 7 days of coaching absolutely free, where I'll help you learn the very simple things you can do better in your business to exponentially increase revenues and results. It's all in my 7-day Profit Amplifier program, and I'm giving you that absolutely free when you join at amplifyyoursuccesscommunity.com. And join us this week. We're going to be talking about what you need to enroll more people. What do you need to get past that ick factor and close more sales in your business? Now, let me introduce you to today's guest. For so many entrepreneurs, online business owners, and heart-based service professionals, there's this stuckness that comes up around selling. And my guest today is here to share with us how to get past that ick factor so you can close more deals. I'm excited to introduce my friend, Christine Schlonski. She is the queen of sales success mindset and is a lifestyle entrepreneur, the host of HeartSells Podcast, and creator of HeartSells Academy. Now, Christine works with heart-centered, impact-driven entrepreneurs who love what they do, but feel very uncomfortable when it comes to selling their products and services. She shows them how to sell with ease, grace, and confidence, and helps them to ask their price while being authentic in the sales process and true to their values. Her experience includes over 12 years in successful selling, closing high-ticket live events in the corporate world. And as a top producer and sales director, she's made millions in revenue herself through successful sales teams she's built throughout her career. Now, in Christine's heart, she truly believes that sales is love and that everyone can learn how to sell while being authentic and enjoying the journey. Christine, thanks so much for joining me today to talk about selling.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Melanie. I'm so excited.
Me too. You are one of those people that I truly believe we share the values of selling from this heart-based place. I think for a lot of people who get stuck around this, they don't understand how someone could be passionate about selling. Why are you passionate about selling?
Well, that has been actually a long journey, because when I started out to work in sales, I never had the intention, the desire to work in sales. So I kind of got myself into this job. Well, let's call it by accident. And we know there is no such thing as an accident. And I learned to love to give people the opportunity to participate in the amazing events that I sold, and to have that change or that opportunity in their business that they didn't have before. So I saw the value, but really connecting my head with my heart, that took a while. That was a pretty long journey of self-development, of learning all about sales that I could, of practicing, of having thousands of conversations. And yeah, so I'm so super passionate because I see that if someone has a gift, and everyone who goes into entrepreneurship and is heart-centered has that gift. If they can't give it to the world because they can't sell, they're not just doing themselves a disservice, but also the world. Like, because the pain of the client doesn't go away just because you did not make the offer. Right? You could have a wonderful
Yeah.
conversation and they will still suffer, and you send them off maybe to someone else who is not as heart-centered or as amazing as you are.
So, when we don't build up this muscle and we don't really master, if you will, this art of selling, what's happening is we're leaving people in pain because we
Yeah.
haven't been able to help them with our gift. We haven't been able to help them have something they need and want. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I have such an interesting relationship with selling myself. And maybe as you're listening into today's episode, maybe you'll relate to a little bit of this as well. I know when I started my business, I would do anything to avoid the sales conversation, right?
Yeah.
I did not want to be in that position. It felt icky to me, which is why I really resonate with what we're talking about today. It felt like, oh my gosh, I don't want to pressure anybody. And I think I had this story made up that selling is manipulating or selling is forcing in some way. Like selling is trying to make somebody do something they don't want to do. And I'm sure that came out of my history somewhere. What do you think is some of the biggest challenges that your clients are having around selling?
Yeah, it's actually the same that you just described. So we all, at some point in our life, we all have had a really bad sales experience. And, I'm not talking about buying the wrong pack of gum. Like, I'm talking about things where you invested and it was an amount that really hurt you and you didn't get what was promised, and, you couldn't do anything about it. So subconsciously, when we go into business and we come from that place of we want to make the world a better place, we have this amazing thing going on that can help so many people. And at the beginning of each entrepreneurial journey, I would guess like we want to serve everybody, especially if we are a coach, like we can coach anybody, anytime. So it's really important to understand that this feeling of you are being pushy or salesy comes from that bad experience you made. So I actually developed the sales power formula, and power, the word power, actually the P stands for the past. And that is where did you make that experience, or where maybe your parents or someone in your family had a really bad experience that could have been life threatening, right? Depending on the investment or what was at stake. It could be that somebody even went bankrupt, or they had to sell their home, or whatever it was. And that could stick with you. And then when you go out sell, you always want to make sure that you are not one of these people who do anything to get the sale, to do anything to get that money in, because you are heart-centered. So we have this gap of wanting to serve, but then not wanting to make an offer because subconsciously we feel we could be perceived like that person that did that really, really bad thing to us.
So it's almost like our life experience and our values get twisted together and forge this block.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Like also, many people, like when they start their entrepreneurial journey, when they come from corporate, you get paid on a regular level. You might have some bonuses, and you are not used to like this up and down in income. So asking for money and really articulating what you desire is very, very difficult, right? When I started my journey, I knew what I didn't want, but I wasn't 100% clear of what I wanted. And I think that is a process. That's why we have coaches and mentors ourselves, so that we get that clarity. And from that place of clarity, we can actually make offers that are aligned, right? Where we understand the value that we deliver to a person, and not buying into the concept that I, for example, have to put a price tag because that's what I think the value is. But shifting it to the person we're serving and figuring out what is the value for them, right? We could talk about sales all day long. It's easy peasy. We would have a ton of fun. But then for somebody else, that's life changing. So what would that be worth to them, right? Well, we would say, well, let's charge, I don't know, 5K. For somebody else, they would give maybe 100,000 to get their huge challenge out of the way, because once that out of the way, they can actually make 500,000 or 1 million, or they have so much more quality in their life that it is totally transforming and changing, and that is worth every single penny. So the perception of how we see sales comes from all these different angles, and we are not aware of these different options because we look out of our own eyes. That's how we see the world, with our own filters. So that's how we kind of put it in perspective, and we kind of judge on what to charge or what to say and what the other person might be thinking, instead of just asking.
I see this happen a lot with people who are struggling in their own finances. It's almost like they look at that other person, and if they say anything that's remotely akin to they're struggling financially, they just put this automatic, like, it's almost like they project their own situation onto the prospect. And yet I don't really think that is serving anybody, because I know you've probably had this happen too, Christine, where I've had people who say things like they don't have money, but when they find something that's really going to solve their problem, they find the money.
Yes, it totally. Some people say that $200 is expensive, and then they turn around and spend 20,000 with someone else in a
Yeah,
heartbeat, and they pay in full, right? Where you think like, wait a second, for this person, you didn't have the 200, and you said it's too much money, it's too expensive, you don't have the money. And then you turn around a couple of weeks later and you say, well, of course, I mean, that's totally worth it. I would even pay more for the solution I'm getting. So you see, it's all in relation to that special something that you might be offering.
Yeah. So it's really, this is where what I think you're saying here is that the values come back into play, because if somebody values something so much, they will figure out how to come up with the money.
Yeah.
So, like really doing the inner work, which is what you're so gifted at, doing the inner work around your own identity, your own relationship with money, your own beliefs about money, and really getting into your heart. It's like that changes everything in the dynamics when you're talking to someone.
Yeah, I love that you said dynamics when you talk to someone. I've never heard that before. I talk about it a lot. So that just shows that how aligned we are in our thinking about sales. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, it's all about the value, how we value things, and also how we allow others, without our own judgment, to value what they are getting. Oftentimes we find out that if I have a block, for example, in receiving, right? I'm not good with money management, for example. Maybe I'm afraid of bigger amounts of money because my money mindset is not in a good place. Then, I will sabotage my whole journey, right? I often have that conversation with people when we go and figure out their own awesomeness, right? That's something like, oh, I'm awesome. Well, yeah, you are. So let's discover, like, why are you awesome? Like, we all have a special gift. Nobody has the same journey, the same experiences, which makes us so special, each and every one of us. And discovering that you have that special it factor, no matter what you do right now. Like you can grow into that person you want to become, into that amazing leader, if that's what you choose to do. And you can also grow your business in a way that you choose to grow it. But then when you turn around and you think like, well, I can't charge money because it doesn't feel good, right? I'm sabotaging myself. Well, then you get stuck. And I often see that when I start working with my clients, that mindset, they want to serve everybody, which is great. That's very noble. It's not going to help your business, right? You can do that at a later point. You can change or tweak your niche a little bit. And then because they think, well, I want to help everybody, I can just offer it at a low price. Because if I offer it at a low price, more people will come. But that is not true. People don't buy because it's cheap. People buy because they see the value they're getting out of it. So price doesn't really matter, but you are in your way if you do have money mindset blocks. And I know you teach a lot of that people are not aligned with making money, keeping money, asking for money, and in a confident way, right?
I had someone tell me a game-changing mindset, and that was the realization that it's just as easy or just as hard to sell $100 offer as it is to sell $1,000 or $100,000 offer.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I believe that 100%. I do think $100,000 offer does have its own little set of nuances, but the mindset shift that went into that changed everything for me. And I realized like I'm actually doing myself and my clients a disservice if I'm charging too low.
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
they're not raising into the full capacity of their earning potential when you're charging too low.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And also what happens is if you are the entrepreneur and you keep charging low, but you keep overgiving, which we obviously do, you get to the point where you get really, really frustrated with your clients because they keep taking and taking and taking, right? Because they get this amazing offer at this low price. So obviously they say yes and they take whatever they can. And then you get frustrated at them instead of, having a look within you, figuring out, well, I really need to do something about undercharging and over delivering right now. And because you will keep over delivering anyway, you might as well just adjust your price and help your business.
I'm so glad you said that because that is such a major pattern for so many people who are
Yeah.
especially supporters by nature, and they are struggling with wrapping their head around selling. And, there's a whole upside down feeling about charging for something they do so easily. What are some of the tips that you might guide us through today, imagining that someone's recognizing themselves in our conversation that would
Yeah.
make selling a little bit easier going forward?
Well, first, I would invite everybody to reframe selling into serving. Because if somebody doesn't have the opportunity to work with you, they miss out all of it, right? They might have one amazing conversation. And oftentimes I see that people are coaching on their call that should be a sales call or a strategy call or a discovery call. So what you do when you go and support the person, help them right away, is you put a Band-Aid on their wound, right? So you're covering up, you're making it pretty. It's like you put a cover over it. And they feel better after the session. They haven't bought from you, that's for sure, because they already feel better. They don't have the clarity of what they truly need. And so they go away and with their pain and they try to figure out what to do next. So they go to the next person who probably sells them something to get the support that you didn't give them. So that's one thing. So find sales for you by, if selling or sales really gives you that kind of bad taste in your mouth, because this word isn't really a positive word in any language, just refine it and think of serving. How can you serve this person? You can serve them by helping them to get clarity And that you do not get by starting to coach right away. That you do help them by really figuring out where they truly are. And they might have never expressed that to anybody else. I often have that people say like, wow, I've never thought about it like this. I even had a session where I was blown away because the person wrote me an email later and she was like, Christine, we just had this one session, but my life was impacted so deeply. I've never had that before. So that's pretty awesome. Like that makes my day, right? But you want to do something where you think about it. How can you support this person coming for support? How can you truly do that? And you can only truly do that if they end up buying your program or your coaching or your consulting or healing, whatever you offer. And if you go into the call by knowing if they are not a fit, you're not selling in. If they are not a fit, you refer them somewhere else, or you educate them of whatever is missing so that they would be ready to work with you, but you're not selling your program to them. And then really go into and have a conversation to another human and make it fun. I always say turn sales conversations into fun conversations, right? You end up serving in the conversation, the person will have clarity. And if they are fit, obviously they will get an offer, but it's their decision. So you just have to hold that space by making an offer that feels amazing to you. If you want to charge, for example, $2,000, but only 200 come out of your mouth, then you need to work on this price point, right? What would make you jump up and down? What make you feel that you just made the biggest breakthrough and impact in your business for your family, for your own personal growth, because the other person said yes at this price point that you would love to charge, right? And then you look at the value they are getting, and I'm quite sure you over deliver anyway. You will give them much more than 2,000 or whatever your number was. So just make sure they get everything they need to get the solution they are looking for, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that starts to feel good even as you're like the language you're using. Like I feel better just listening to you navigate that. Like, and I think feeling good, like you said, making it fun is how we tap into a more expansive energy versus it feeling like a chore or feeling so, scary. Like that's just a constricting energy.
Yeah, I think when you own your awesomeness, and that's definitely a process. I mean, when I was told, like, own your awesomeness or you are awesome or like positive things, I cringed inside. Like just learning to accept the compliment by saying thank you and not saying, well, oh, you have a beautiful dress too, or I love your shoes too. Let's thank you. And then there's nothing else you need to say. You let it sink in, right? Maybe you can say, thank you, I received that, but that's it. And you allow yourself to receive, because when you allow yourself to receive and you are a great giver, then you get to the place where you will have that in harmony. And then things will feel natural. Like obviously somebody comes, they want your amazing gift that only you have, because you are the only person on this planet with all the experiences you have. There's no other person. Even if you have a twin sister or twin brother, you have made different experiences. So own that and step into that each day a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, until one day you can be totally confident in knowing what you do, how you do it, what the results are, and what you charge for it. And that definitely is a process.
I would imagine, and tell me if you see this differently, but I would imagine when you own your awesomeness and you have that sales conversation from that place, if someone's a no, you're also probably not a fit. Because when you're authentic to your awesomeness and someone's not able to say yes and meet you there, you're probably letting go somebody who would be very difficult to work with or bring up a lot of challenges.
Yeah, totally. And I often see no as not now. So it really depends on how the conversation was, and you will figure out pretty quickly if the person is a fit, right? Every person you encounter will give you some kind of feeling, we know with some people it clicks right away, right? We are super excited. We can talk for hours. We don't need to talk for weeks and months, and we get together and it's like we had just a cup of coffee yesterday, right? And we all have these experiences, so we know they exist. And then there are these other people, right? They might be really nice, they might be very beautiful, but then there's something where it feels like there's a wall. We can't move forward, like something is repelling us. And you have that with every conversation. You have either you're kind of drawn in, right? You will feel, is this person sharing your values? Like all my clients, for example, they love freedom. Well, freedom is one of my biggest values. So, duh, obviously, if we want to work one-on-one and you don't like freedom, well, then we might not be a perfect fit. And you will discover this with all different kinds of things. And you just need to pay attention to that. So when you talk to a person, you figure out pretty quickly, like which category are they? Are they category like soulmate client? Like you get totally excited just seeing their name on your calendar? Or are they not in that category and they're really difficult to work with? They ask weird stuff that your soulmate clients would never ask, right? And you get like all these red flags. Well, then I highly suggest not to push for anything, just to send them off, because you will regret it later. You will definitely not enjoy working with them if they're already difficult in the first conversation. It's not becoming easier.
Well said. I would love it if you would share a resource or maybe something that would help our listener connect with you beyond today's conversation.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. I'd love to. So I have empowerment notes where I share content that I usually do not share on social media, where I give some information about HeartSells Podcasts, about the guests, what kind of story they're sharing. And where, I invite to special online events like, the Sales Mentality Makeover Masterclass or whatever is cooking and comes up to support people. So just put yourself on the empowerment notes and you'll be filled into everything that's going on a regular basis.
Yeah. And you can find that at christineschlonski.com/empowerment, right? Is that where they go?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. And we will link that up in the show notes just to make it super easy for you as well. Christine, you have so much wisdom and you have beautiful energy. Like I'm always exquisitely attracted to people who have this grace in their way of being, especially when it comes to selling, because it's such an attractive quality and energy. I want to get to know you a little bit better, go a little bit more underneath what's helped you get to where you are today. And I always like to ask my guests, what do you think is the boldest action you had to take that helped you create the success in the business you have today?
What a wonderful question. The boldest action, I think, and again, that maybe was like not maybe, it was a process, deciding to leave the corporate world. Right? I had accomplished so much going from not wanting to be in sales to actually sales director in only 7 years, making 6 figures, having all these amazing clients who came back, who loved the way I supported them, and who helped my paycheck grow each time they said yes. And then obviously, building teams, which, always my heart goes into people. So saying yes to a journey that I could not see clearly and no to something I was so familiar with, which wasn't serving my desire for freedom anymore. So really basically saying yes to myself. I think it comes down to saying yes to myself and no to things that weren't serving anymore, but they were very familiar.
There's a lot of comfort in the familiar, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, comfort can be very seductive. And I think that happens to business owners too. They build a business that gets very comfortable. And that can be an allure in itself to keep you from evolving when it's time to evolve. Not that I'm
Yeah.
speaking from personal experience or anything.
No, of course not. We never do,
No,
don't we?
no, that is something I think is very relatable for so many people, is having to find the courage and make a bold decision and then take bold action to leave behind a cushy, very successful corporate job to go out into the big unknown. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And just out of curiosity, is there one thing or anything that you learned about taking that leap of faith that might help somebody who is maybe on the crest of making that decision for themselves right now?
Well, looking back, what I would definitely suggest, it's yes and no. Like, take your time, but don't take your time, if that makes any sense. Like, prepare in a way that you have income coming in, because oftentimes I see people, they just resign and they don't have plan A or B. So, building something up on the side that helps you and that confirms people are paying for your solution. And what I found, I mean, I was really good in sales. I was a top producer in the company, and selling my very first $97 was such a breakthrough in comparison to selling, 5-digit packages before. Like $97, I remember it the first time someone paid me for something I made up. I packaged it in a workshop, and somebody said, yes, I want to do this. And I had like my PayPal clicked and I had $97. So the difference selling for yourself and selling for someone is huge, right? I was like, well, sales is not a problem. I mean, obviously I know how to sell, but all of a sudden you are really selling yourself, which you did before, but you had rules to follow and you had a product. So, but now you're on your own and you sell whatever you created or whatever product you have chosen. And that is a huge difference. So just be mindful and prepared when you make that move. It's a beautiful move and congratulations. But really, please figure out the sales game. Don't expect you build it and they come. That's not true.
Yes, so she just said what I did wrong when I left corporate. So
Well,
thank
but you
you.
managed it so good.
I found my way, but it was messy and painful for sure. But
Yeah,
the truth of the matter is, I would never, ever have done it if I didn't jump. I had to jump and I had to swim, and I had to swim fast. And that's the path I needed to take. So it's all good in the end, right?
Yeah, totally. And it's different for everybody. That's why I say, like, take your time and don't take your time, because you can over prepare and you will never jump. Right. But,
Exactly.
if you can create some form of income before you kiss that job goodbye, I think that would really support you not to fall into like the stress and maybe neediness of like, I need the next client. I need the new client now. Otherwise, I can't pay my bills. So if you're good for a couple months, maybe you have something in your saving account, then hey, jump.
Yeah. Basically, have a financial cushion that's
Yes.
going to keep you out of desperation, because nobody likes, and no one would say this, know this, but people know when you're desperate.
Yeah.
It's a sales repellent. It's literally like you're spraying a sales repellent on yourself. So, Christine, thank you so much for sharing so many beautiful wisdom bombs today, and so much of your own journey that helps illuminate the path for those that are ready to up their sales game. And I want to encourage you, as you're listening in, to get Christine's resource. This woman is extraordinary. It's at christineschlonski.com/empowerment. Listen to her HeartSells podcast. You might even be able to catch my episode I did with her last year, I think it was. It was such a fun conversation. She's such a great host, and she interviews the most amazing people. So I definitely encourage you to also subscribe and listen to HeartSells podcast. Christine, thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I really enjoyed this conversation. And, I could talk to you for hours. So
Maybe
I
we'll
really
do
hope,
that one day.
yeah, I really hope you guys got so much out of it. And I encourage everybody to just follow their hearts.
Well said. This is Melanie Benson, your host. Thanks so much for listening in today. If you want to catch up on any of the show notes and circle back on any of the resources we shared in today's show, head on over to the show page at amplifyyoursuccesspodcast.com. And remember, you amplify your results faster when you're in a community of other people who are moving and shaking. Join us at amplifyyoursuccesscommunity.com. One last thing. When you've gained insight from today's episode, help us share that and inspire other people by heading over to iTunes, subscribing, and give it a review. iTunes absolutely loves seeing these reviews pop up, and it actually helps boost my show's visibility. So I would be super grateful for your reviews. And as always, I love seeing your shares of these episodes on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come find me over there. Tag me in your shares. I'll give you some social media love right back. So see you next week for another inspiring episode of Amplify Your Success Podcast.